Hey everybody, it's Emma Lightning here, and welcome to another review. This is the first review in a while, and I am sorry about that, but I have been busy with work and stuff like that, and the holidays are coming up, so that's pretty exciting. So I will be working on a big holiday special. Not sure what it'll be yet, but it'll be good. Last year I did the big mega partnership for a drug-free America review, and that went pretty well, so, and I can't believe it's been a year already. Today, however, we're going to be talking about something a little bit more serious. So, with COPPA being the hot issue that it is right now, I thought it would be a good topical time to talk about PSAs of a particular group, I guess, and I have mentioned my beef with them before. Germany's SWR Fernsehen, or SWR Television. Now, this is just your typical TV channel from what I could find, owned by the public broadcasting company Südwestrundfunk. Please excuse my German. I have none. I took Spanish and French. Anyway, as some of you might know, SWR Television has provided us with some very juicy nightmare fuel PSAs. I think the most infamous one is probably Day Trip, as it was featured on Hello I'm a Pizza's Top 40 Scariest International PSAs. But the other ads from this organization are equally disturbing and bizarre and extreme. A little too extreme, if you ask me. I have touched on these guys before, but I think it's about time we do a more full course review of their stuff. And just a disclaimer, I am going to put a trigger warning before I start getting into these because a lot of them are pretty violent and briefly show nasty things that they really shouldn't, but there you go, that's PSAs for you. So if you're really bothered by horror films and brief displays of graphic violence, then you might want to check out one of my other videos today. Also, this review will feature a lot of opinions, so if you disagree with any of my hot takes, feel free to discuss it in the comments below, but please be respectful and act like a normal person. Thanks.
One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
So this one I think I reacted to in Rocket Raccoon 19's Top 80 Scariest European PSAs. I think I asked why the German child was counting in English, but I've since been informed that that's actually normal. I had seen it before then, and it's pretty much just all of these SWR PSAs in a nutshell. In fact, this was really the only one they needed to make if they really wanted to get this point across, but instead they made 6 or 7. And that's not to say that this one's really good. It just uses footage from movies and TV, which I sure hope doesn't come back to bite me in the ass, but it probably will. And it shows us what this clearly disturbed McEdgelord thinks about when he's falling asleep. So the message is pretty straightforward, but I definitely wouldn't say that it's accurate or necessary. I do understand that TV and movies, and especially the internet, cause a lot of desensitization towards violence and whatnot, but, still. So I've got one question, and that is, what the fuck is going on in this one? The quality of it obviously isn't fantastic, so it takes me a second to process what's going on, and once you do, it seems very skewed. This says a lot more towards monitoring your kids in general than just what they watch on TV. Like, if your kids are young enough that they're that impressionable, then you probably shouldn't be leaving them alone for such long periods of time in the first place. And then once the guy starts, like, shooting at the little girl, I'm sorry, that's just getting ridiculous. This one almost kind of crosses into NARM territory, in fact. It's like, it almost makes a good point, it's getting there, but then it, like, takes a hard turn and just misses the mark, and it ends up creating this weird, extreme, scaremongering thing. Hey, remember when this one jump scared me? Oh, shit. Oh, don't like that. Good times. I'm gonna tentatively go ahead and say that I don't mind this one as much. I'd even go as far as to call it a pretty solid PSA. So what makes this one different to me? I don't really know. Probably because I'm hugely into mental health awareness, which is maybe a weird takeaway to have from this, but hear me out. I think there are kids who can handle seeing disturbing stuff on TV and not blink an eye. And I also think there are kids, like I was, who are super sensitive to certain things. One of the scariest things about being a kid is seeing things that you don't understand. The first exposures to certain kinds of violence can leave you really shaken, and I would even say that a lot of childhood anxiety and fears stem from things you see on TV. And how do we combat this without straight up banning TV? That's pretty simple. We sit down with kids and we talk to them about it. Obviously, you can't monitor everything your kid is watching at all times, especially these days, but I think the more open they are to talking about it and asking questions, the less likely they are to develop things like nightmares and phobias. So, yeah, I don't know if that was this one's intention, but if it was, it's a pretty good concept.
Mit dem Sohn einmal ausgehen und dann keiner gern nach Haus geht. Dann erlebt sie unterwegs die dollsten Sachen, mal zum Weinen, mal zum Lachen. Und sie machen richtig flott, denn sie tanzen, schwingen und hot und sind fröhlich wie der Mops im Ballett-Tor. Wenn der Vater mit dem Sohn einmal ausgeht, das wird prima. Oh.
Lieber Papi, zeig mir mal etwas von dem Land.
Die Idee ist ideal, ja, das mache ich glatt.
Und dann krieg ich auch vielleicht ein Luftballon.
Klar, mein Sohn, und ein Luftballon. Wenn der Vater mit dem Sohn einmal ausgeht, das wird prima. Oh.
A classic. And I say that with a note of bitterness in my voice because I do actually kind of hate this one. I would have put it on my overrated PSAs list, but I don't think people enjoy this one as much as kind of miss the point of it almost. The tagline obviously is in German, and if you don't speak German, you basically just gone through a full minute of eye torture and deep confusion, which, by the way, is a pretty good summary of my channel. And for what? A preachy message about how to parent your kids? The problem here is that I do think kids are desensitized to a lot of fucked up stuff, and I won't lie and say it doesn't make me just a little bit uncomfortable to think about parents who think it's okay to let their 4-year-olds watch insanely violent and vulgar TV as long as they're with them. Like, that's just weird to me, and just because the kid's too young to understand it doesn't make it any less weird. But at the same time, it's absolutely a case-by-case thing. Like, some kids can handle more mature stuff, as I said before, and some can't. Obviously, there's got to be some kind of minimum age that you can be okay watching gratuitous violence for gratuitous violence' sake, but the problem is everyone's got a different idea of what that age should be. Some would say 13, some would say 16, some would say 18, some would say 9. I think it's just too broad of a statement to say that you shouldn't let your kids watch anything you wouldn't show them in real life, you know what I mean? And yet, hey, I'm not a parent, but I definitely was a kid. So, this last one, I've decided I'm not even going to show it in its full. I'm just going to show screenshots from it. And while that might seem a little hypocritical, I have a very good reason for it. It's because I find it extremely disrespectful and tasteless, and beyond that, the message is just so completely off the mark that it legitimately makes me angry. But as I discovered this one, I figured I couldn't not mention it here. So if you would like to watch this garbage PSA for yourself, it can be found on the PIF fandom wiki under the SWR page. It's towards the bottom, but please read the description of it before you watch it. For those of you who would rather not watch, and I don't blame you, this PSA is in the style of a first-person shooter game. It begins with a character selection screen, and alarm bells are instantly going off if you recognize any of these names. Yes, we're really going there. Next, there's a weapon selection screen, and right after that, and I cannot believe I'm saying this about an actual piece of media that was put on television for a public service, we cut to actual footage from the Columbine shooting, overlaid with like a crosshair thing and stock sounds of people screaming. This goes on for a grueling 15 seconds, and then the tagline appears and makes the whole experience even more egregious. Before I say anything else, would anybody like to hazard a guess as to when this PSA was made? It was made in 2000. That's right, they couldn't even give it a year. And yeah, I know, like, the big hot take back then, it was generally agreed upon that, like, goth subculture and video games were, like, solely responsible for Columbine, but I think most of us know better now. I'm sure another reason that this PSA got even past the beginning stages of the idea room was because it was made in Germany, and I suppose from a European perspective, America's, like, love of guns and the idea of school shootings it seems pretty wild and outlandish, and it really does sound like something dystopian, because it is. So of course, it's something to use as an example for your stupid anti-video game PSA and not to treat as an actual thing that happened. Obviously, there's a reason I'd never heard of this one before I saw it on the wiki page. I assume this one is trying to be, like, buried. God, like, I don't have to explain how wrong this is, do I? We're all people with common sense here. Like, we've all played video games and or seen violent movies and turned out relatively normal. Yeah? Okay, good, just checking. So yeah, I was on the fence about the SWR for a while, but this PSA right here single-handedly dropped them way down to the F tier. So press F to pay respects. Or don't, because video games are big bad evil. So I think that's all I can stomach from the SWR for now. I know I missed a couple, but I kind of just wanted to, like, cover the ground and get this video out. Like I said, hopefully I will be working on a holiday special review. There are a couple of, like, reboots I kind of want to do, like, just to compare how my opinions have changed in the past year. So look forward to those. If there's any specific one you want to see first, then let me know. And as always, link to my Ko-fi is in the description. Thank you all very much for watching. If you'd like to make the subscribe happy, hit the subscribe button, all that. And be aware of what you're watching on TV, because you never know who's gonna show up. Alright, bye!